Hey everyone, hey guys. Welcome to the weekly training with me, Kelly McHugh. I'm the founder of Digital Yoga. Be here with you all. So I'm live, three-way live on Instagram and in the Facebook page on Digital Yoga Academy Facebook page, and also live in our group today. So hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I can see people are starting to join now on Instagram and Facebook. So if you're joining me, let me know where you're watching from. And some of you will be aware that I come on here every week and I do a live business training, yoga business training. And today I'm talking about Instagram stories. Okay, so and how you can use Instagram stories to engage your following and to share your message of yoga. Ultimately, it's what it's all about. So I'm going to dive straight into it today. I have had some questions for this training that have come through on Instagram already, so I will be including those questions in today's chat. Any questions that come up around Instagram, specifically to do with Instagram stories, then please do use the comments. Let me know what your questions are. Okay, so today, how to use Instagram stories. Okay, so you're going to learn, how to use one of the fastest growing social platforms, which of course is Instagram stories, and how to use it to share your message of yoga, how to use it to engage your audience, and also how to use it to build your email list, which probably doesn't seem the most obvious use for Instagram stories, but I'm going to share with you today some strategies and let you know how you can use the platform to do that as well. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but Instagram is by far my favorite social media platform, and mostly because I love Instagram stories, but also because I think the connections on Instagram just feel more real than any other social media platform. So if you're using Instagram yourself, then you've probably either recorded an Instagram story yourself at some point, or you've viewed one or several because they are completely addictive, or you've heard somebody talking about Instagram stories, but maybe you weren't sure, what they were talking about. So wherever you fall in that equation, there's definitely one thing that's for certain, and that's, as a yoga teacher, you of course are a yoga business owner, and you should be using Instagram stories because it allows you to create more solid and real connections that, if you do it correctly, will go way beyond just chatting and commenting on social media. Okay, so maybe you might not be familiar with Instagram stories, okay, but I've still got you covered on that. So those of you watching on Facebook, maybe you've not used Instagram stories before. So I'm going to just cover a few of the basics so that we're all on the same page, okay, before I start to dive into some of the strategies that you can use to engage your audience and to build your email list. Okay, so what is an Instagram story? So an Instagram story is a piece of content that you share on Instagram itself, and it's typically photos and videos, but you can also share text-based images. Okay, if you're sharing a photo or a graphic, it lasts on the story for 6 seconds, whereas if you share a video, it lasts for 15 seconds. Okay, you can create all of this content in Instagram itself. Okay, so within this story functionality, you can use the editing and creation tools that Instagram provide you that are built into the story, or you can create them externally and then upload them. But really, you have all of the tools there in itself to be able to create stories that are fun and engaging. So you don't really need to be doing them externally. And the way that Instagram stories are different than a post, a regular post in your Instagram feed, is that the content on Instagram stories disappears after 24 hours, okay, unless you add it to your highlights, your Instagram story highlights on your profile. So some of your more interesting ones, or the ones that you really don't want to disappear, you can add them to stay on the top of your profile forever, or until you delete them. Okay, so that's what an Instagram story is. You should be using Instagram stories in your yoga business is because Instagram now has over 800 million users worldwide. Over 800 million users worldwide, okay? And 500 million are in the app every single day. So 500 million users are in Instagram every single day, and 300 of those million are using Instagram stories every day. Okay, so that's a huge chunk of the active daily users of Instagram are using Instagram stories. And I really think that Instagram stories are now taking over the content of choice within Instagram. Okay, so most people now are using Instagram to view stories than they are to consume posts or, you know, look in the feed. Think about your own behavior. If you're an active Instagram user, you know, ask yourself now, where do I spend my time? When I open the app, where am I spending most of my time? Is it looking in the posts, or am I watching stories? Okay, the answer is there, right? So yeah, so obviously, you know, that's great for Instagram as well, because now they have another place that they can use Instagram ads. And as a business owner, if you know what you're doing with ads, Instagram ads are a very tool. You know, I'm using them in my business, and they're converting really well at the moment. Okay, so there are literally millions of people in the app every day waiting to view content on Instagram stories. So you have an opportunity to show up in that space. Okay, so so we know what Instagram stories is, and we know why we should be using Instagram stories in our business. So now I'm going to talk to you about how you can go about creating high quality Instagram stories that you can use in your yoga business. Okay, so and in particular, I'm talking about this in a way to actually use the platform to grow your email list as well, so which we'll talk about in a moment. And hey Dan. And so anyway, so you need to know how to create high quality Instagram stories, and just to have a little bit of planning that goes behind it as well. Okay, so this is a quick rundown and points to kind of consider. Okay, so in all of this, I'll be popping into a blog post as well for you afterwards, so I'll be sharing the link with you on that, so you'll have some guidance there as well. Hey Joe. Everyone's starting to join now, it's brilliant. Okay, so first up, I want you to create stories that have purpose and intention. So I want you to think about that before you get onto Instagram to do a story. Just think about, does this story that I'm creating, does it have purpose and intention? Of course, that means you need to put a little bit of thought behind it, a little bit of planning, and I'll talk about how you can do that as part of your weekly content creation in just a moment. Okay, and then I want you to try to use a mix of personal and business stories. Okay, so show a little bit of your behind the scenes. People love that. It's a really great way to, you know, be more authentic and to show your personality and to just show your behind the scenes. Your followers love that. They want to see that. So mix it up, you know, have a good mix of personal and business stuff as well. And then try to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, and I'm going to talk you through. I'm going to run through that in a moment as well. Try to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to your story. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then never let the dashes turn into dots. Okay, so you know when you watch an Instagram story, you can see at the top you've got the dashes, and that's the number of stories. You never want those dashes to turn into lots and lots of dots, because that is just creating a painfully long story. People's attention span doesn't last that long. You want to keep it engaging, you want to keep it snappy, you want to keep it, you know, you want it to have some a stronger impact, but a quicker impact. Remember, you know, the videos are 15 seconds long for a reason. Instagram want you to be quick with this, and they want you to you know, just to be a bit more engaging with it, I guess. Well, definitely they want you to be engaging with it. So keep it short and snappy. Don't go too overboard by creating so many videos that those dashes turn into dots at the top, because you will just lose, you won't be able to retain your viewers to the end. You'll lose people. Okay, so try to use natural light. I mean, I'm not really using that myself today on this live, especially on my phone. It doesn't seem, the light isn't that great, but try to use natural light. Just get outside even if you can to do your stories. What else? Oh yes, and then use the functionality that, or the tools that Instagram provides to you. So within Instagram, when you're doing your story, there's lots of little editing tools that you can use. So you can use captioning, which is a really good way, especially for people who aren't using audio. So if you're speaking to the camera, you know, using some captions on your videos, so those people that are listening can actually still follow along and see what you're talking about. And that's a really good way to keep your, or it's a really good technique to keep the retention high throughout your story. And then try to drive interaction using features like polls, and asking questions is a really great way. So I've done that today. I've asked people questions, what, you know, if anyone has any questions for this particular for this training. So ask questions. There's a functionality you can use. There's a feature there you can use. And also drive people to start a conversation with you in through a direct message. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So there's a few different features there that you can use. So let me first then talk about in a little bit more detail the beginning, the middle, and the end. Okay, so I spoke about that already, but this is about thinking when you're planning ahead. It's about thinking, is my story going to have a beginning, middle, and the end? So when you start to kind of think about this and put a little bit of planning in place, you want to ask yourself some questions first of all. So you want to ask yourself, what do I want my followers to get out of this Instagram story? Okay, what do I want my followers to get out of this Instagram story? What do I want my followers to do with this Instagram story? How will I introduce the story? How will I keep them engaged? And how will I conclude the story? Okay, so there's some questions there to ask yourself. So how will you start the story? So the beginning of the story, you want to be setting the tone for what you're sharing. So you want to introduce the topic or the idea that you're going to be talking about to your followers. And, you know, use stickers, use text on the screen, you know, to tell people what time of day it is or what day it is, especially if you're creating new content every day. And then just tease them with what's coming up. Okay, so try and think of some creative ways that you can do that. And then throughout your story, you want to keep them engaged with different types of content. So mix it up. You know, I talked already about the personal and the business, mixing up those, and then, you know, mixing up videos with photos, using some of the fun features. You know, you've got all the face stuff on there that you can use. There's lots of different tags and GIFs and all sorts of things that you can use in there to really make it more interesting and engaging. So use that, and then make sure that you offer value. You know, with every piece of content that you create in your yoga business that you put out there for your potential ideal students, you want to be giving value all the time. You want to be giving value, you want to be telling stories, you want to be inspiring people, you want to be entertaining people if that's, you know, if that's you, and just really give lots of value. Free content to people is going to help you to build your following and to build deeper relationships with people as well. Okay, so always remember those two questions that I started with, which is, what do you want your followers to get out of the story, and what do you want them to do? And that those questions really relate to the value and the education and the story, and, you know, how you're going to inspire people along the way. Okay, and then at the end of your story, I always want you to wrap up your story at the end. Okay, so never leave your audience hanging. So help them to understand what you want them to do next. You know, is it to consume more of your content? You know, have you been talking about your blog post and you're sending them to your website to go and consume that? Or are you sending them to a direct message, or are you asking them to do something else? And then maybe, you know, if you're planning ahead for the next day, build some anticipation for that. If you know what you're going to be talking about, maybe just a little mention of something that you'll be sharing the following day. You can always ask your followers for feedback as well. This is a really great platform to get feedback from your potential ideal students. You know, if you are in the process of crafting a new retreat for next year, or if you are building an online program and you really want to gather feedback, you know, to make sure that what you're creating is something that your audience really wants and needs, then Instagram stories is a great place to do it. It really is. Use the poll features, use the question features, and start to gather some feedback. And it doesn't matter if you don't get thousands and thousands of people, you know, responding. That's okay. You know, the Instagram stories, especially for using the platform for feedback, should be part of an overall feedback plan. Other feedback mechanisms, you can send surveys out to your email list, you can talk with your regular students, you can invite them to come for a smoothie with you so you can chat with them about their yoga journey. There are so many things you can do that will help you to gather feedback. Instagram is just one of those mechanisms. So don't be alarmed if you're not getting thousands of responses, but just know that every single response counts, and it's an opportunity for you to engage with your followers. Okay, so that's the kind of beginning, middle, and the end kind of concept to think about. And what else was I going to mention to you today? So many people, you know, many people ask about the swipe up feature, and not everybody has that feature available to them. So I think you have to have 10,000 followers for Instagram to unlock that feature to you. And the swipe up option, you probably have seen it if you watch a lot of stories, allows you to add a link to your story. Okay. And so you might think, well, you know, Instagram stories isn't a great place for me to promote my new online program because I can't add a link to my sign up form, or I can't add a link to my new freebie, you know, my new meditation series freebie that I'm offering people in exchange for their email list, because I don't have an opportunity, I don't have the functionality to add a link. Don't let that put you off, because actually I find the link up a little bit kind of passive in a way, and a little bit less engaging, because you've kind of lost that connection with the person who's speaking to you. Where in what you can use is direct message. So encourage your followers, encourage people who are watching you to direct message and start a conversation with them. You know, I'm guessing the majority of us haven't got millions and millions of followers on Instagram, so we can manage that. We can manage that. And isn't that a great way to start a one-on-one conversation with someone, where you can actually start to get a little bit deeper? You can dive deeper with them and actually ask them about their yoga journey, ask them where they need help and where they need support, because all of this feedback, it just helps you down the road with all the things that you want to create. If you start to get feedback from your potential ideal students or your niche, you can use that to your advantage. You can use that in your messaging. You can use it to create new programs and so on. So I want to encourage you to use Instagram in a way that will help you actually to grow your business. So not just to get on there and just share your day, but actually to, coming back to my very, very first point, to start to think about the purpose and the intention that's behind the story that you're putting out there. So what do you want your viewers to do? What do you want them to get out of it? And if you are focused on growing your yoga business, which I'm guessing those of you that are watching are, and also if you follow me a lot, you'll know I talk about email marketing all the time, and you know, growing your business through growing your email list and having that direct contact into somebody's inbox. And you can use Instagram stories to do that as well. So one of the best ways to grow your email list is to provide free content. So it's called, there's lots of different names for it, but essentially it's an opt-in freebie, a lead magnet, or just a plain old freebie, whatever you want to call it. But it's a piece of free content that you provide to someone in exchange for their email address. I've done many different trainings on this. If you want to catch up with any of the trainings, head to the Digital Yoga Academy Facebook page, and there you will go to videos and you'll see some trainings there. There's definitely a training on how to create a freebie to grow your email list. So go and watch that. And a great way to share that is through Instagram stories. So, you know, you could do a whole beginning, middle, and the end talking about an issue that your students may be dealing with. So maybe they're wanting to, maybe you know from the feedback that you've had that your students are wanting to start a daily meditation practice, but they struggle with that. So you can talk about that in your stories. You can say, hey guys, I'm coming on here today to share with you some tips on how to start a meditation practice, because I know that a lot of you are struggling with this. So you can talk through that, go through your tips in the middle of the story. So you've introduced it, go through the middle, and then at the end you can say, okay guys, so you know, if you watch with me to the end, I would love to help you more with this, and I've actually created a meditation series that will help you. It's a 5-day guided meditation series. You'll receive a short meditation every day into your inbox, which you can listen to every morning when you wake up, and it's going to help you to, you know, get into the habit of a daily meditation. It could be something as simple as that. So you're telling them about it. And then you would say, to get your hands on my meditation series that I've created for you, please direct message, please comment now, direct message me now, and I will share it to you through the direct message. So you're encouraging them to have a one-on-one conversation with you, okay, which is an amazing thing to do. Use this in your business. Even if it feels like, oh, that could be too many messages to deal with, actually use it, because you might find that you actually get more engagement that way than if you said to somebody, go to the link in my bio where you can click on the link and get access to my meditation series. So that's encouraging the user to come out of Instagram stories and onto your profile. Whereas if you ask them to message you within Instagram stories, so exactly in the screen that they're watching there and then, at the bottom there's a little comment box where you can see this now. You can see the comment if you're watching on Instagram, and encourage them to message you there within the Instagram stories platform. It's more likely you're going to get them to convert that way than you are to encourage them to come stories and onto your profile. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But you know, it's like any platform really. Platforms want you to stay within the platform, and it applies to Instagram stories as well, even though that's part of the wider Instagram platform. So I hope that makes sense, and I really encourage you to give that a go. Try it out, see how it works for you in your business. Okay, so I had a couple of questions and I think I've kind of answered them, but I'm just going to quickly go back to them. Makes sense, Maggie. Thank you, Maggie. Oh yes, before I go on to the questions, actually, I wanted to say, because you might be thinking, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed with this, thinking, oh gosh, I've got to plan out my Instagram stories now. And oh, thank you, Alana. That's so sweet. Alana says, this training is such good quality information. You're killing it. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. So the other thing I was going to say, yeah, you might be feeling a bit like, oh gosh, I've got to create a blog, I've got to do videos, I've got to do everything else, and now I've got to do stories. actually, I want to make this easy for you, and I will refer back to one of my other videos that I've done. I did a video a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. You'll find it saved in the videos section on the Digital Yoga Academy Facebook page. I did a video, and it was all about how to create one piece of content every week and share it in multiple ways. So it's actually about repurposing your content so that it makes it easy for you. And I talked about having, you know, a time in your week, maybe it's a Monday morning, it's a Monday morning for me, where you dedicate that time, and it's non-negotiable. You dedicate that time to creating content. And I suggest to you that you try to create a blog post, and from that blog post, you share it in different ways. Go and watch that video if you haven't seen it already, because I try to break it down for you and make it really easy to create content. Because guys, you need to be creating content in your yoga business. It's as simple as that. If you want to you know, share your message of yoga online, and you want to build your community, and you want to get, you know, more people practicing with you, either locally, or if you're teaching online, you want to get more people in your community, then you need to create content. Content is key. End of. So get on board with this stuff, okay? So what I wanted to say to you is, really, stories is just another channel, because once you've created your one piece of content, your blog post, you've actually got a ton of stuff to share on your stories. Because say you've created a blog post on oh gosh, what could it be on? 10 things to expect at your first yoga class, or something like that. Then you've actually got 10 different points that you could come onto stories and talk about. Yeah. And hopefully your blog post has got you know, some kind of free piece of content that they can opt into as well, which might be like a beginner's flow or something like that, which is related to the blog post that you've created. And then you can talk to them about that in your stories at the end, okay? So think of it in that way. And if you've already got content on your blog, go and have a look at the content on your blog now and read it, and think about it in terms of how you could share that content, on stories, how you could break it down into little mini kind of snippets. I like to call them golden snippets of content, or no, golden nuggets is what I call them. How you can break it down into little golden nuggets. And I talk about this on the other video that I just talked to you about, which is the one around content. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. And okay, the two questions I had Tanya Green, and she said to me, how can she earn on her knowledge, on what she knows through stories? And Tanya, just exactly what I've explained to you. You can earn by getting people onto your email list, okay? If you watch a lot of my videos, I talk about the sales funnel. So the sales funnel is people at the very top who've just discovered you, and they come onto, they've discovered you in some way. So whether that's, you know, they've just seen a link that's been shared in a Facebook group or something like that, and they've clicked through and they're on your website, and now they read a blog post, and so you've just moved them down the funnel a little bit. They read a blog post, and now they see your opt-in, which is relevant to the blog post they've just read, and they're like, oh yeah, I quite fancy that. I want that piece of free content. I'm going to give this person my email address. So you move them down the funnel a little bit more. The reason it's a funnel shape is because not everybody is going to go down it, so it gets thinner as you go down. Okay, so this is exactly the same thing. You can use stories in this way as well. So if you're talking about your opt-in freebies, and you're talking about your blog posts, and you're telling people, hey guys, send me a direct message and I'll link you to my blog post, or I'll link you to my free meditation series, then you've created an opt-in opportunity. And from that opt-in opportunity, you have the potential to nurture that relationship inside somebody's inbox. And when you can get inside somebody's inbox, you have the opportunity to offer them your paid for products. And that's how you can earn through your knowledge on Instagram stories. So I hope that answers that question for you, Tanya. And then Layla asked about calls to action. And again, I've talked about this throughout this whole training today, you know, telling people to direct message you, using the polls, using the questions, the features that are in Instagram. There's lots of ways depending on what your call to action is. You know, it might be sign up to my email list, or it might be you want to gather feedback to help you to develop new things in your yoga business. Okay, guys, I think I'm done for today. That's 30 minutes of talking at you. If there's any questions, please let me know. And Carmela, lovely to see you on Facebook. Not seen you for a while. Carmela says, hello everyone. I highly recommend Kelly's marketing course. I've just designed my email course. Thank you, Carmela, for that. That's great. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. And I will be back here next week. Please connect with me. Please send me messages. Direct message me in Instagram if you're watching. And let's have a little chat. And I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you, Alana. Alana says, everything you're saying is spot on. Staying relevant and real, using up-to-date features on social media is key to successful digital marketing. Thank you for sharing these nuggets and wisdom. Thank you. Namaste, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Bye.